The broadcast is now starting. All attendees are in listen-only mode.
So good afternoon, and thank you so much for joining this webinar, where I'll give you an intro to what Darwinex means for investors. My name is Juan. I'm one of the co-founders of Darwinex, and I really look forward to hearing your questions. As we go through the webinar, I encourage you to type any questions that come through your mind. I will be able to see what phase of the webinar the questions came in so that we can improve this presentation for future iterations. And I would be delighted to take those questions at the end of the webinar if they haven't been answered as we go through it. So without further ado, let's get going. Today, I'd like to talk to you about what Darwinex, what it is, and why we do it. We'll talk about skill versus luck from the standpoint of an investor trying to pick a consistent trader. We'll start using a bit of a demo of the system and show you how it all works. And last but not least, I'll just remind you why we think traders are an investable asset class that's here to stay, and we will be here serving both them and you in the long future. At the end of it, we can discuss any questions you might have regarding our investor offering, or indeed anything to do with Darwinex in general. It's always our pleasure to understand what bugs you about us. So let's get going with Darwinex. Now, why Darwinex? Well, we exist because of you guys. Active investors, in our view, are evolution at work. There's more and more people worldwide who have chosen to stop being a passive investor that takes investment advice from so-called experts and have seized the opportunity that technology and society offers them by gradually taking their own investment decisions, so much so that at the end of the extreme, we have people who have really gone as far as becoming semi-professional or full-time traders. There's 6 million people worldwide who trade more than 10 times a month in both futures, equities, and foreign exchange markets. And it is our view that out of those 6 million people who all work away from institutions, there's got to be a bunch of guys who are pretty good. And the catch is you can't invest in them today. So why Darwinex? Well, we are an exchange that lets you tap into this new asset class without any middleman in a full alignment, as we'll discuss later. And our goal here is to establish, for your and traders' benefit, a growing community of choice of investable traders so that you can diversify your investments away from traditional asset classes. So if I had to summarize what Darwinex then is we are an exchange. We list traders, traders evolution in the format of the Darwin asset class, which we'll see later, for investor benefit. As you replicate the trading strategies, as we'll see, we collect a 20% success fee from the investors that we pay out one-to-one to the traders. As you'll see, the only incentive the traders have is the 20% success fee that they collect if and only if they profit on your capital investment. Now, what makes us different from a bunch of other providers out there is that in addition to being fully aligned, we offer a risk management overlay, which means whenever you invest in a trader, we, Darwinex, are controlling your investor risk independently from whatever it is the trader is doing with his own money. A second corollary of that is that we manage all trading strategies to have the same risk, which means you can readily combine different trading strategies as if they were, say, a stock portfolio, knowing that their risk is individually they're about as risky as a stock, and collectively they can be diversified to be about as risky as a stock index. So the benchmark with which we like to compare trader returns is a stock index. An individual Darwin is about as risky as a mid-cap equity. So you can expect an individual Darwin to make more than 10% or lose more than 10% once every 20 months. And you should note that statistically, whenever a bad month happens, then you are likely to lose way more than 10%. It could be 15%, 17% on a pretty bad month. But so it's a high risk investment product, but it is an investment product. We're not talking about gambling here. Now, Darwinex as an entity is regulated by the FCA as both the broker that faces the traders and the asset manager that faces the investors. And what we do is we use technology to provide the trades for the broker. We are informed about the trades because we are the very broker that sends them to the market. And whenever you buy a Darwin, you do replicate on your own account whatever trade the trader has done, with a provision that the leverage for your trade, the risk, is managed by Darwinex, not the trader. In the process, we collect a success fee from the investors, from you, a 20% success fee, and pay it out 100% to the trader, whose only incentive, therefore, is to make money for you. In other words, we are a legal marketplace, a legal exchange for investors to purchase the intellectual property inherent to a trading strategy. That's the way the whole thing works. You can look us up in the FCA register. Our registration number is 586446. We are a match principal broker, and this is very important because it means we always send both trader and investor trades to the market, and we have nothing to gain other than the commissions we charge from you transparently. We don't make any money if you lose any money, which is an issue for some so-called market makers. You are at all times protected by the Financial Services Compensation Scheme in the UK, which offers you a guarantee of up to £50,000 of guarantee for your investment in Darwinex. We are a substantially grower company than 5 years ago when we started. We now employ more than 40 employees in several countries. We process in excess of 15 billion of monthly trading volume. Actually, this is outdated, so we're growing strongly. And we pride ourselves in having happy investors and traders in over 100 countries. It's actually one of the most rewarding things as a founder to see that one's idea has reached so many people worldwide. Now, let's come back to the subject of skill versus luck. So we try and help you identify the fundamental drivers of a trading strategy. So much like the S&P 500 publishes fundamentals on the behavior of the stocks, we publish fundamentals on the behavior of a trading strategy, and we summarize those into a 0 to 100 score that ranks the quality of a trader. That score is updated daily and will soon be updated real time after every trade. And it is made up of 12 attributes for each strategy that measure things like risk stability, consistency, the ability of a trader to enter the timing at the right point and exit the market at the right point, and deliver on consistent returns. Now, we can walk you through the process of investing in a second. For those of you who are here, there's a handout that will be sent out to you that summarizes what each of those 12 attributes track. If you want to know how to find those in the interface, you can do so by just going to any individual Darwin. Say, let's look for Darwin DWC. Sorry, LVS happened to be one of my favorites. So in there, what you can see is the 0 to 100 score. You can see that my mouse clicks over, so you can click any of the stuff wherever the mouse changes, you can click on, and it will show you the evolution of this score. This is important because whenever you see that the score is fading, this could be an indication the strategy is not working so well. It might be an indication to start managing down our investment into this Darwin and look for others that are on the rise. So this Darwinex is not called just, this is not just marketing, it appeals to the Darwinian nature of everything we do. And that score of 72 is made up of the 12 sub-scores and each of these badges that you can see here. You can see the badge. Whenever the trader has got a 10 out of 10, it will be fully colored in green around it. If he's got less than 10, say in this score here, he's got a 5.7, it will be sort of yellowish. If he's got even lower, it could be even sort of red. So as you click in any of these, you have a mouse over that lets you know what each of the effects is tracking. Moreover, what you can do is track, say, go into the individual indicators of this. One thing we track, for instance, is the loss aversion the trader has. We track how much in profit the trader was in any given trade with a green bar, how much in drawdown the trader was in any given trade with the red bar, and we also tell you why he closed his trades. So you can see, for instance, if he lets his winners run and cuts his winners short and lets his losers run, which would be a bad thing, or the opposite, which is in this case indicates that it looks like a consistent trader who's not subject to loss aversion, which is one of those trade killers out there. Going back to the interface. Now, We offer you a free demo service with an unlimited investor demo account that has by default $10,000 or euros or whatever base currency you've chosen available to you. This is designed to help you get comfortable with the market and play around with the investment. So it really works a bit like any other standard investment into stocks. You can just easily reset our demo, add funds to it to buy our first Darwin. So we can add, say, $10,000. Now our demo account is fully funded, and we can look at stuff here in the, so let's just look at things that would have favorited before. So I could go say kind of AXF is somebody I would have favorited before. I'll show you how to do that just now. I can trade him there and then. I can basically say out of my $10,000 which I've got in my account, I can enter 2,000 potentially with a stop loss. Say right now the trade is quoting at 207, so I could set a stop loss at 200, and I could even have a take profit quote at 220. Boom, I buy. I've now bought the trader. I've got 2,000 bucks invested in him. My equity at risk is 200. It's 10% of the total I've invested because that's the default risk for a Darwin. And I can keep going, see my all my open assets in my portfolio, which is the purchase I just did. I can click through the history of my purchases as I go through them. I can see how much performance fee I've paid, and so on and so forth. I'd really encourage you to play around with the platform. It is sophisticated but reasonably intuitive. We need to do a better job in that, and we're actually investing into explaining it better. But I really encourage you to play around. It's really not so tough to get going. Now, a lot of people ask us to recommend Darwins. Now we are an exchange and we would be incurring in a conflict of interest if we actually recommended Darwins. So what we do is provide you with a framework. So we really encourage you to filter down from the universe of Darwins, of which there's upwards of 1,300 right now, to about 50 that you're willing to invest a bit more time into investing by using filters. For instance, there's predefined filters in the system that you can see. So once you go into the explore section to get going, just to kind of see what's around, you could see you see this the top invested filter, which shows you the guys with the most traders. You can see the guys who have the highest scores, people who have done more than 50% return, and so on. So just by clicking on these, you can go see, say, who's had the most investment. You can see this as a list. You can even rank this list by number of count of investors, invested capital, return delivered, and so on. So I encourage you to play around with that. You can even favorite them. So if you think this could be an interesting guy, I could add that to my favorites, and it will show up on the list later on. And I could buy him here now, or I can go into the detail page for him and do all this detailed analysis for me to see if he's somebody worthy of my investment. So as I said, I encourage you to play around. Think of it as stocks. They're actually not stocks, but they are an asset class that has its own challenges in analyzing. The benefit in the asset class, of course, is that it is very much unexplored. So if you saw it, lots of people knew that there's a guy who's been making a pretty good return for the last 3 years. Maybe they would give it a go. That's one of the benefits of creating an exchange with a new asset class. How to do this thing? Well, as I said, use the filters to get down to something like 50 Darwins, no more. Once you've gone in that list, you just monitor 5 to 20 by either favoriting them or investing them in demo mode. And then we really recommend that you invest in no less than 3 and possibly no more than 10 Darwins at any given point in time, because this is about managing your investments. As I said, you will need to set up your stop losses and your take profits. Some people actually do trading of Darwins by selling out of some of them when they're doing less well and doubling up when they're on the rise, and vice versa. So people are developing their own trading strategies to do this thing. We've got a very special Darwin, which is a Darwin that tracks the community sentiment for the community. This does the opposite of what most of the traders in the community are doing. So it's a pretty good hedging tool that you can buy just in case things go pear-shaped. So lately, markets have been tough, and this is actually on the rise, as you can see, because it does the opposite of what everyone does. This could be a good hedge because the trader portfolio might be struggling for the last month, but it would be somewhat hedged if you had invested in this one, which has done reasonably well. As you can see here, it's up 9% in the month. So on bad months, this goes up. On good months, it sort of stays stable, which makes it a pretty good hedge for whatever it is you're doing. Boom. For those of you that have the handout, I encourage you to read through these features that we offer and try and make yourself acquainted with them. We have webinars where we discuss them in detail. We also do typically announce on our blog what's coming up on next steps. And yes, to summarize, what is Darwinex? Well, Darwinex is an exchange giving you access to a previously inaccessible asset class. So we're trying to democratize investment into traders. At all times, you enjoy the protection of our independent risk management engine. We are an investor product. We're not a gambling product. This is not a casino where you'd make 10,000% per year. That's actually impossible. That's more like a gambling situation. Returns by the traders are typically uncorrelated to the broader markets because as traders, they are long or short, depending on whatever suits them, but they're not always facing the same way as other markets. One thing I haven't mentioned is we are heavy investors in our own trader base. So we have a proprietary investment of significant amounts, including the Darwinia contest, where we invest a total of 24 million on a rolling allocation of 6 months for 4 million every month. We also invest for our own profit. So for instance, you can see that we actively trade the community sentiment index and are making a chunky benefit out of it. So if you go into the P&L, so we've made upwards of $7,000 in trial mode, because this has only been live for about a month, with 50,000 bucks of invested capital. So this looks like a pretty good tradable asset. And then very importantly, we pride ourselves in transparency. All you pay us is the commissions for your execution. We collect the success fees from you that we pay one-to-one to the traders. That is their sole incentive. They only get paid for making money. And we do not charge you any management fee, so you only pay for what you trade. Now, at all times, the Darwinex Labs blog is a place where we share our investing strategies as we invest our own proprietary capital, in the hope that our lessons help you make more money from the asset class. But really what this is a new asset that we think is worth investing because we're investing ourselves, and we really hope you enjoy the experience as we go along. Now, what's next? You might be asking yourself what to do after this introductory webinar. Well, we encourage you to download your investor app so that you can monitor your portfolio whilst you're on the move. We encourage you to join the Darwinex community. It's a vibrant community of traders and investors. You can reach out to the traders in case you have questions about their strategy as an investor. We are regular on Twitter. We have upwards of 10,000 followers on Twitter, and we get frequent questions and feedback over there. And of course, we do publish on our blog in case you want to find out about more detail about stuff, or you want to find out about our latest releases and so on and so forth. And last but not least, if at any point in time you get stuck, we have a friendly support team that you can reach out to at the top right-hand corner of the interface to hopefully have all your questions answered in currently English, French, Chinese, and Spanish. So I'll stop the recording now, and if there's anybody who has questions, we can go through those immediately. So thank you so much. And take care for those at the recording, and I look forward to the questions for those attending the webinar right now. Okay, so Peter is asking, what is the minimum investment into a Darwin? You can buy Darwins for 200 euros or any increments thereafter. So you can buy a Darwin. You can't buy a Darwin for 190 euros, but you can buy him for 205. Okay, so you want to know how to use the first filters? Well, actually, the easiest way, you can either go to all the Darwins over here. Sorry, I click on the wrong place. All Darwins, and then once you're there, you can start creating your filters. Either just go for this a pre-existing filter, which will show you the ones that are already there, or you can create your own filters. And once that, you see everybody who's there with a return, drawdown, and so on and so forth. Yes. So the recording, this is being recorded, and it will be sent out to you both by email, and also if you subscribe to our YouTube channel, you'll get updates every time we publish something in there. So don't worry, it's all fine. And yes, you've got this handout which you can use for all the more detailed elements of the presentation. Okay. All right. Well, it sounds like we've run out of questions over here. Thank you so much for those of you who are here, and if you're watching the recording, thank you so much. Sorry you couldn't make it, and I look forward to seeing you in upcoming webinars. So there's always, as always, remember the education section where we schedule everything that's coming up. So you can see all the videos on the YouTube channel over here. You can also see upcoming webinars here. The next one is actually quite an interesting one, which is how to hedge your portfolio risk by investing in the DWC Darwin. I encourage you to sign up for that now. And it looks like there's no more questions. So thank you so much. I wish you all a very nice weekend, and I look forward to seeing you in upcoming interactions. Take care. Bye-bye.